Everyone's building personal operating systems to work for them overnight. 1 week my Claude Code 7-day window was ending and I'd only used 30% of it. The week hadn't been hard and it wasn't some production emergency where every token had to count. I just looked at the number and thought I must be missing something. Around the same time, I kept seeing people show off personal web interfaces they'd built for themselves, and the pitch was always the same. Their agents were working for them overnight. For me, that was hard to imagine. Most of my personal agent workflow happens under fairly strict control. I'm happy to let an agent write code, but I still want the plan, the diff, the test, the review, and the final click to stay visible. So I took the idea and built my own version of it. Not an open source project or a product launch, just a personal setup that finally started to make sense. The slightly absurd part is that the whole thing runs on a gaming handheld. I used what I already had and I wasn't gaming on it much anyway. The obvious first answer was to use an existing agent Kanban board. There are plenty of them now, and Vibe Kanban was the first one I tried seriously. To be fair, it was promising. It supported all the Claude Slash commands, so it felt natural right away, like a good harness around the workflow I already had. Browser preview didn't work seamlessly for me, but I made it work. Then I updated it and the interface changed into something that didn't fit my workflow anymore. I had sign-in, cloud, and pricing friction in exactly the spot where I wanted a quiet local board. The whole update felt like the literal enshittification of a thing that had worked fine the day before. That's a harsh word, so let me be fair. Their own site now says Vibe Kanban is sunsetting, and the project will continue as open source and community maintained. So this isn't just a takedown, and it isn't just they started charging money. It happened to arrive right as the product was shifting under me, and that made the trust question louder. If I'm putting work issues, private project issues, or security cleanup into a board, I want to know where that data actually lives. I expect it to run locally and not leak personal or work data anywhere. Put bluntly, who are you that I should trust you with my issues? And regardless of which board I picked, I already had my own steps baked in. Code simplification, my review fix loop, my GitHub identities, and my own way of deciding when something is ready for a human to look at it. So I did the usual developer thing. I decided the existing tool was almost right, which obviously meant I needed to build my own thing on top of another thing. The base is an ASUS ROG Ally X running Bazzite. I'd moved my agent setup onto it over a long weekend because it's small, quiet, and just funny enough to enjoy running as a little agent box. That machine already had OpenCode and Hermes came with a dashboard and a Kanban plugin that looked very close to what I wanted, so I started from there. At first, my customization strategy wasn't elegant. Whenever something annoyed me, I'd SSH into the handheld, run Claude Code, and just ask to fix it. And the fix would land as a direct edit to Hermes Python sources. Links posted to Slack, for example, would unfurl previews I didn't want, so I'd point Claude at it and it would patch the source in place, and I'd be happy until the next Hermes update overrode it. I knew that was coming since these were edits to upstream source, so after each update, I'd have Claude to put them back. For small patches, that routine was fine: stash my changes, update, reapply, and hope nothing had moved too fast. Fast, but never quite right. Eventually, I burned a fairly large pile of tokens to extract most of those changes into a proper Greycat extension bundle. Theme, news, Kanban workflows, profiles, skills, plus apply, rollback, and doctor scripts. The dashboard went from the default all-caps look to a black and amber Greycat design, and more importantly, the custom pieces became mostly update-safe. Mostly, not magically, I still have to maintain it. The most useful part is the coding board. It's basically my normal AI coding workflow, except every step has been turned into a durable card that survives me walking away. Each of those steps, triager, planner, coder, reviewer, runs as its own Hermes profile, a separate agent with its own instructions and setup, rather than one generic assistant doing everything. That profile system is specifically a Hermes feature. OpenCode didn't have it the last time I checked, about 2 weeks ago, though in this space that could already be out of date. The input is a rough GitHub issue or just some basic notes from me describing the problem. Sometimes I copy-pasted Slack message with my own comments on it. Whatever it is, it lands in triage first, where the triager confirms the problem still exists, that it's pointing to the right repository, and the scope is actually actionable. Then the planner takes over, behaving like plan mode without the human approval gate. It reads the repo, writes the implementation spec into the card, and leaves a checklist to whoever codes it. The coder picks it up next, using a codex lane for the actual edits, opening an isolated worktree, pushing a branch, and opening a PR. Then it reaches the reviewer, which is the part I care about most, because the review is not one model glancing at the diff and saying looks good. It runs two independent review legs, GPT 5.5 as the primary judgment and a Claude Code CLI co-reviewer, and then reads remote CI as the final gate. If either leg finds a blocking issue or CI comes back red, it requests changes and the card drops back to the coder, who fixes the same PR and hands it back. The while loop lives at the board level. If the review is clean and CI is green, the card moves to human review and fires a Slack notification. Then I open the PR, test whatever actually needs a human to test it, and merge it myself. That last part matters. The board doesn't merge for me, it prepares the work for me. The other feature that made this click was dependencies. I can split a bigger epic into phases and have each child card wait until its parent is done, so a dependabot cleanup, a security sweep, or a multi-phase refactor can be queued as a single chain without phase 4 kicking off before phase 1 even exists. One card taken over an hour to travel from rough issue to human review. Doing that by hand is just annoying. But if 2 or 3 low-risk cards move overnight and I wake up to a few PRs waiting for review, the whole thing suddenly starts to make sense. I can't show the actual work codebase issues on screen. That would turn a fun personal OS video into a security incident, and I already have plenty of ways to make work for myself. So in the demo, the thing to watch is the shape, not the contents. A card slides from in progress into review with its PR link attached, and from there the reviewer either bounces it back or passes it forward. When it passes, it lands in human review, and that's where I take it over. While I was talking through the board, one card actually moved on its own. That's the moment the system starts to feel real, not because it's some autonomous magic, but because it's quietly handing a boring piece of process while I'm not staring at the terminal. Which is the honest framing here. This is dog fooding, not self-healing. When I spot a UI glitch I'd missed earlier, I feed Claude a screenshot and ask it to fix it. And it does. But I'm the one who noticed, and I'm the one who asked. Same when Hermes changes under me and I update the extension bundle, or when a PR reaches human review, I have to be the human. The only customer this board has is me, and the only standard it has to meet is whether it produced something I'm willing to review. That sounds small, but it's exactly the right size for a personal system. The coding board is the most useful piece, but it isn't the only one. I also built a newsfeed that pulls from the sources I actually care about. Anthropic, OpenAI and Codex, Hacker News, the Reddit AI communities, and Hermes and OpenClaw releases. Sitting on top of it is a video ideas view, which looks at the current news pool and suggests possible YouTube topics. So when a headline is worth investigating, I can promote it straight into the YouTube board instead of losing it in a browser tab. In the same spirit, I found openjobdata.com, a job database that refreshes daily, and wired a Hermes cron job around it. Every day it pulls the new data, queries for the roles that fit, and sends my wife a short list of relevant openings on Telegram. It has nothing to do with the channel, but that's the sort of quiet errand a personal OS should just handle on its own. That YouTube board mirrors the script workflow I use here. Brainstorm, research, outline, draft, fact verification, critique, and finalize. I read every line carefully and keep correcting it until it's something I can actually say on camera and back up. There is a social posting too. For a given news item, I can draft an X post or a LinkedIn post, add some context, generate a preview, revise it, and only then confirm. In the demo, I used a story about a database of 2 million job postings scraped from 100k company sites, and the X post that went with it cost me around 2 cents. Not a business model, but convenient. It has rough edges, of course. X as a news source is missing entirely because the API pricing just isn't worth it for a setup like this. Plain commentary posts are wired up and work fine, while link-heavy posts are often easier to paste in by hand. Again, this is a personal OS, not a polished SaaS, and that's a very different bar. The honest version is that this thing is genuinely useful and also very unfinished. It's not open source and I'm not sharing the repo. Some of it is too personal, some of it is welded to my specific machine, and frankly, I don't want the support obligation that comes with publishing it. It also doesn't self-heal. Every time something goes sideways, I am back to prompting Claude until it works again, which is just a normal human-in-the-loop development loop. Calling it autonomous self-improvement would be a lie, and viewers would catch it instantly, because the footage is full of my manual prompts. It's also not the right tool for big ambiguous features. I wouldn't throw a risky product rewrite at it and go to sleep. Where it shines is routine work, dependency updates, security cleanups, small fixes, and review loops. Browser verification isn't where I want it yet either. Hermes has browser tooling and I can wire it in playwright-style checks, but this isn't the version where I fully trust visual verification. And maintenance is still maintenance. The plugin extraction helped a lot, but when upstream changes, I'm the one keeping my custom layer aligned. That's all fine though, because the goal was never to remove myself from the process. It was to stop spending my best attention on the parts that are repetitive and reviewable. At the end of the day, the system has to produce something deliverable. Otherwise, it's just scripts, tokens, electricity, and a dashboard that looks good in screenshots. So the thing worth copying isn't my exact setup. You're welcome to the colors, the profiles, and the cat voice if you happen to enjoy that style, but it's really just decoration. A helper needs to be useful before it's entertaining, and the useful part was never the paying job. Copy the move. Take a local harness you can trust, encode the workflow you actually run, and make the agent steps durable, visible, and interruptible. Keep a real review gate and keep the human merge, and make sure the system hands you something concrete at the end. A PR, a script draft, a reviewed issue, a post you can approve. That's what made this worth building for me. I had unused tokens, a gaming handheld, and a nagging suspicion that other people were getting more out of their agents overnight, so I built my own version of it. You can build yours too. Worst case, you make some fun making it. Best case, you make up to useful work already waiting for review. That's the whole setup. Build your own, or don't, the tokens were going to expire either way.